Okay, today we are going to look at page 59. Firstly, always start reading the question. The figure shows the incomplete front and top view of two square pipes which interpenetrate. Determine the following: the curve of the interpenetrating in the front view, which is going to be somewhere here. The development of the branch pipe. So pipe B, we are going to do the development and then complete the top view. Okay, so the first thing that I've already done is I've numbered my auxiliary view 1, 2, 3, and 4, which means this is going to be line 1, 2, and 4, and 3, and I already labeled A, B, C, D on the main pipe. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do my top view. To do my top view, I'm just going to draw construction lines, numbering each line. Okay, now to determine how is the top view going to look. If I'm looking at this from the top, the first line that I'm going to see is line 1. And line 1 is going to be in the middle, which means if this is my square and I draw a line through the middle, it means that is going to be number 1. Then 2 and 4 is going to be in the middle. And then lastly 3 is number 1. Okay. So if I want to determine number 2 and 4, which one is. Are we going to number 1, 2, 3, 4, or is it going to be 1, 2, 3, 4? It's the easiest to look at it in this way. You take any piece of paper, any scrap paper. I just torn off a piece of an old drawing, and then I'm going to draw freehand my auxiliary view and number it the same 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I place it here. Now, actually, I want to determine this line that I can see. Is this line number 2 or is it number 4? Okay, so the easiest way for me to do it is I place my two fingers on the piece of paper, and then when I bring my drawing up, which one is coming closer to my view or to the camera, and that is number 2, which means this line is going to be number 2. Okay, so if I pick this one up, number 2 is going to be on this side. So we are going to number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Now I'm just going to complete my top view. Okay, now let's do the interpenetration of branch pipe B into the main pipe. Okay, so I'm going to start with number 1. I'm going to ask myself, number 1 is going in a left direction. Let's just label everything that needs to be labeled. Okay, number 1 is going in a left direction, and it connects with the pipe at B, which means number 1 is going to connect at line B, exactly on line B. That's where it enters there. Then number 2 and 4. Number 2 and 4, it goes to the left and it interpenetrates at this point on that specific line, which means at the front view, it's going to interpenetrate exactly on that point. This is going to be number 2 as well as number 4. And then lastly, number 3. Number 3 again, it's the same as B. Same as 1, it interpenetrates at B. And then this is number 3 and number 1. Okay, then we can just go from number 1 towards number 2, from 2 towards 3, and 3 back to 4 we have, and 4 back to 1 is already there. Now for the development of the branch pipe. I'm going to draw a construction line for myself at the bottom of the page. and I made a mark, and that is number 1. Okay, so remember when doing the interpenetration or the development of the pipe B that's interpenetrating, we need to look at pipe B, the branch pipe's dimensions. So I'm going to take the measurement of one of its sides, and then I'm going to fold it open. So number 1, 2, 3, 4, and back to 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, back to number 1. The reason why we do 1 and 1 is, if we take a piece of paper, let's take this one for instance. If I fold this one open, number 1 and number 1 is going to meet each other again. Okay, so if this was 1, 2, 3, 4, and back to 1, number 1 and number 1 is going to meet each other and be one line again. Okay, if it's just 1 to 4, number 4 and number 1 is not going to be the same. Okay, so now construction lines. Go. Now, the flat part is the top part of the pipe, which means we must now determine the lengths of these lines. So if we look at number 1, placing my sharp edge on 1 and taking the measurement to where it interpenetrates, then I'm going to mark number 1 as well as number 1, and I'm going to label them. Then number 2 and 4, 2 and 4. As soon as I mark it, I label them. 4 and 2, and lastly number 3. Okay, now I can draw.
Now you can just complete your pipe development by drawing the curve in dark lines as well as your fold lines.
Okay, now just for a bit of extra work and a bit of extra understanding, I'm going to do my development of the main pipe as well. Okay, so firstly, I'm going to get my height of the main pipe and draw construction lines. I know it's not part of the question, which means it's going to go into my question, but it's just that extra bit of work for understanding. Okay, so firstly, this is going to be line A, A. We are going to cut it on A and open it. Okay, so now I must take my dimension of the main pipe from A to D, and then I'm going to do the same as marking it here. That's A, B, C, D, and then from D back to A, B, C, D, back to A. Draw my construction lines. Okay, now because we just projected it over, I can draw a construction line through here and mark it as this is line number 3. This is going to be line 2 and 4. And then this is line number 1. Okay. Now starting at the top, the first place that it's going to cut is exactly on line B, which means number 1 is going to be exactly on line B. Then if I go down, my next place it's going to cut is line 2 and 4. But that is not exactly on A or B. That is happening between line AB and between line BC. Okay, so I'm going to put my sharp edge on B and tell myself a story. I'm at B. On my way to A, I find line number 4. Okay, so then I'm telling myself the story again. I'm at B, placing my sharp edge on B. I'm on my way to A to find number 4. And then I mark it and I label this number 4. Okay, which means now where 4 goes up and meets with line number 4, we find point number 4. The same with number 2. The same story. I place my sharp edge on B, telling myself I'm walking towards C, and on my way I pass number 2, and then I take the measurement of 2. Then telling myself the story again. I'm at B, on my way to C, I find number 2. So that's number 2, construction line up, and where line 2 and 2 meets, that is number 2. Then lastly, I continue down, number 3 on B, which means that one there, and then I have my hole that's going to be in the main pipe.
To complete your main pipe development, you just draw your outlines as well as fold lines in dark lines.
Good. So the question, front view with the interpenetrating curve showing, the top view done, the development of branch pipe B, and then that bit of extra work developing the main pipe.